Another thing we got to deal with, because this is a track car, is putting a decent amount of cooling into it. These cars are known to not be the greatest when they're on the track from standard heating. So I got this nice 3-inch core radiator, which I got to get out of the box. Nice aluminum radiator. So we'll get around to swapping this guy in too before we actually hit the track for the first time. Getting the radiator out, not too tough on this car, but I gotta take the whole airbox off, and then you can see the underside of the airbox as well. There's a little resonator that sits underneath, gotta take that off, and then I gotta pop both the charge pipes off because the radiator's down under here, and I can't quite get to it without all this stuff on top being removed first. So we gotta do that. Got the car up in the air. You can see here's my upper radiator hose. That got pulled off from this side right underneath the charge. No, not that side. That side. Over there. That's where I got pulled off from. And so far it's just two 10mm bolts on the charge pipes to move them out of the way. Lift the fan cowl out. I actually did that in a previous video, so you guys can probably go back and look at that one if you want to learn a little bit more. To get the radiator out now, I do still have my lower radiator hose I need to get out there, and it looks like a 7mm or 10mm nut there that will take the AC compressor housing and disconnect, or the hose line, not housing, and disconnect it from the radiator, and then disconnect that hose, and I should be able to just lift it out. So let's give it a try. It's an 8mm. So I've run into another problem here. The AC condenser is actually attached somehow to the front of this. I can't quite exactly tell, but it looks like it's attached somehow to my radiator. It's coming up on that side, but this side's still a little tight, so I have to figure out how to loosen that up before I can actually pull the radiator out. All right, so I figured out what was hanging us up. If you look down here, you'll see there's a 10mm bolt down there right behind the charge pipe. So I had to disconnect the charge pipe here so I could rotate it out of the way. Once we get that 10mm out, that should disconnect the AC condenser from the radiator, and I should be able to lift it out. And you can also see I recovered some of my coolant in there. We should be good to go. So the driver's side was actually a little tricky. We had one down here on the lines, but there's also another 10mm right there that I've got to get. I think that's the evap canister or something. So I got to take that off, and then that connects right there, and we should be able to get it out. Here we go. Here's the new radiator versus the old radiator. And you can see that is quite a bit thicker than the old one, but everything else pretty much just lines up to exactly where it was from the stock. So this should be pretty easy to get back in. It's gonna be a little tough to wiggle it into place, but once it's in there, no big deal. Only thing I gotta do is take my little rubber caps off here, clean them up. I'm gonna take a look in the car too, see if there's any mud, clean that up, swab it over, drop it in. You need to take these clips off too, because you're going to reuse those on the new radiator. So there's one on each side. Those are going to help hold your condenser back on and the evap canister and stuff like that. So just get a screwdriver, pry these guys off, and then we can clip them on to the other radiator. That's the last part you need off the stock radiator. Last thing I did is I cleaned out the holes and I put the rubber grommets back into them, the feet where this sits. You can see all the mud that came out of those holes just from the old flood muck that was in there. So cleaned all that out, put them both in, and now let's drop the radiator back in. So this radiator's got these little tanks at the side and a couple little things here. There's just no way I'm getting this in without taking the charge pipes, at least rotating them out of the way, but that one I definitely have to take off and disconnect so I got enough room. So I gotta do that, and then we should be able to slide it in. All right, so I got this all in. If you're gonna do one of these big radiators yourself, there's a couple little things that I had to do to make this fit. First, I had to take all the plastic cowling off up front. It's just 4 10mm bolts underneath, and then a couple of just body clips, so pretty quick and easy to get off if you take a look at it. But after that, up here in the front, there's a little lip that the new radiator sits on, and I'm not focusing on it here, but all the way down there, and I had to bend that out for the evap canister here so that there's enough room for that to sit in, and then these guys lined up, and that was all good. And then I had to play with this cooling loop a little bit just to get it out of the way and then put it back. Now everything lines up nice and clean. I'm gonna put the fan cowl back in and then really tighten it all up, then put all the plastic back. All right, so this thicker radiator gives me a lot less clearance for the cowl, and I'm rubbing against these wires right here that are sticking out a little further, so I'm gonna have to kind of rotate them up, zip tie them out of the way so that I can get enough room to get down and clear that cowl. All right, so got these longer bolts here that go through the fan shroud, radiator, and then my AC condenser. When you're tightening these up and you have a wrench and you've taken the charge pipe out of the way, make sure you don't drop your wrench into the charge pipe like I just did. So now I have a wrench inside my intercooler, and I gotta figure out how the hell to get it out, and I hope I don't have to take the intercooler off to do that. Well, that was unnecessary, and what's worse is when the tool you drop inside the intercooler is the one that would make it easiest to take the stupid bolts off. Oh well, live and learn. So some days you just try and you fail. So you can see on the back here, there's one of these captive clips, and I decided I'd try using that just to, you know, save myself and be a little bit lazy. And I realized that it's not the right thread, so I stopped hitting it with the bolt. The problem is that these bolts that came with the Radiator are so soft that it actually already cross-threaded it. So now I gotta go retap the damn tip of this bolt so that I can use this bolt, so I can go through there, so I can finish this up. Man. Well, I just checked my tap set, and I don't actually have the right tap for this. So I'm going to have to just run it through the nut and hope that the nut's stronger than the bolt, or the bolt's strong as the nut, and they can rethread together and catch up with themselves. If not, I'm just gonna have to go get a new bolt and nut for the other side because I screwed it up. Shit happens. All right, now that we refilled our radiator, I got to top off this and then burp it. I did another video on that. It's a few episodes ago. I'll link to it here-ish, I think, so you guys can watch that. I don't need to record it again. Gist of it is you got to take this bolt out right here, take this clip out right here, lift this whole thing up above the motor, let it run for a little bit. That'll burp out all the air in the coolant lines, and then make sure it's topped off. You're good. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Got a couple new things coming up for you in the coming weeks. Getting close to being done with the Sky here, and hopefully we'll get to move on to some other fun projects and get this thing out on the track pretty soon. Talk to you soon. Talk to you next time. Talk to you later. Bye.